Hi, I'm Daniel Andrews, owner and creator of Andrewsfootball.com. We have another trade. Stay tuned and get all the details. Now, if you're new to my channel and you're wondering, hey, why should I follow Andrews Football? Well, this isn't a sports channel. This is a football channel. I follow football 365 days out of the year, 366 this year, and I break down all 32 teams. I've gone over literally thousands of mock drafts. So join the community where we talk football. And unlike most YouTube channels, I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk. I put my money where my mouth is. Check out some videos right here on this channel while I'm in Vegas collecting. So if you haven't done it yet, there's a button right around here. See it, see it, see it. Bam! Hit that button. Become one of the greatest people on planet Earth. First things first, let's talk about the Giants. Season, the Giants went ahead and brought in Joe Judge from the New England Patriots. He was the special teams coordinator and wide receiver coach. And then he brought with him Patrick Graham, who was the defensive coordinator in Miami last year, but also worked with him in New England. And also, if you weren't already aware, Brian Flores, the Miami head coach, was the defensive coordinator in New England. So there's a lot of New England ties with this coaching staff. And then, of course, the offensive coordinator is Jason Garrett, who is the former Dallas Cowboys head coach and basically ran that offense. He's hired as the Giants offensive coordinator. But when I look at this team, I'm looking at defense. You have Dexter Lawrence and DeAndre Baker. They were first-round picks last year. They didn't really do as much as you would have liked to see. Lorenzo Carter, one of my favorite players coming out of Georgia. He's also going to be a part of this defensive unit. You have Dalvin Thompson, and I think that they're going to get a deal done for Leonard Williams. That's still up in the air. And then you also have Jabril Peppers, who was part of the Odell Beckham trade. The reason why I'm bringing these players up is that, and I'm also bringing up that they have a lot of New England personnel working with this defense, is that the Giants ran a 3-4 last year, and they're going to run a similar scheme, more or less. But basically, you're not going to overhaul this defense. And you have a good group, a good core of base young talent that you can work with. Now, they need to do some work on free agency. They need to sign some players, and they're going to address some players through the draft. But bottom line, even though the defense was bad in New York, I think that bringing in a New England culture and you have a good young group of talented players, I fully expect the defense to be better. But one thing I do want to point out is that you don't have to completely overhaul this defense. You have a good group. You're going to run a similar type scheme. So even though the defense was really bad last year in New York, I really expect them to be better. And they are going to add some pieces through free agency. On offense, with Jason Garrett coming in, you're going to basically do the same thing that Dallas did for the last 10, 12 years. Hopefully you won't see as much throwing as Dallas did last year, but you do have a good young quarterback in Daniel Jones that you can build off of. But this is important because one of the Dallas Cowboys' biggest strengths is one of the Giants, if not the Giants' biggest weakness, and that's the offensive line. So I'm seeing the Giants really wanting to address the offensive line first in this draft. But one thing that stayed with me over the years is a quote by Dick Vermeil. Dick Vermeil says, never draft an offensive lineman with a top 5 pick unless you're convinced he's a Hall of Fame. Unless you're convinced he's a Hall of Famer. Okay, so I butchered the quote, but you get the point. All right, the Giants with the 4th pick, there's a lot of really good tackles available. There's probably 5, maybe 6 tackles that are going to go in the first round of this draft. But bottom line, there's not a Orlando Pace or a Jonathan Ogden or an Anthony Munoz. I'm going old school there with Munoz. In this draft, you have a bunch of really good tackles that could be potential Pro Bowlers, but none of these have that type of grade that Pace or Ogden had coming out of this draft. So if you're the New York Giants, because there is a lot of good tackles, you can afford to trade down And there's one team in the draft that's really itching and able to trade up to number 4. And that team is the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, the Chargers moved on from Phillip Rivers, and they need a quarterback. In this mock draft, Joe Burrow went 1, and Tua went 3. So you need a quarterback. And while it's very likely that the Giants aren't going to take a quarterback, I mean, they got Daniel Jones. I don't think the Lions are going to take a quarterback, but you do have to worry about another team coming up and trading. So what you want to do if you're the Chargers is you go from 6 to 4 and you move up there. Now, in this situation, I think the Chargers are going to offer a 2021 pick. Maybe a 1, maybe a 2, but here's the thing. The Chargers can't offer the same thing that Miami can, so they're not going to be able to trade up to 3 in order to get their guy, but they can trade up to 4. And I think the Giants are more than willing to trade future draft picks, because the Lions, they're in win now mode, so they need players and picks for this year. The Giants have gotten a new regime, so they can trade for 2021 picks and not be worried about it. And you're the Chargers, you need a quarterback, so giving up a pick in 2021, that doesn't bother you very much. So that's why I think that you're going to see this trade happen, and I think it's going to be for a future pick. I think it's going to be a 2021 pick, maybe a 1, maybe a 2. But in the Andrews Football mock draft, at number 4, I have the Los Angeles Chargers selecting Justin Herbert, quarterback out of Oregon. Now, I can't read the Chargers general manager's mind. I can't sit here and predict what the Chargers are thinking, but bottom line, you're moving from LA. You got rid of Phillip Rivers, and you need to put butts in the seats. So why not take a 4-year starter on the West Coast who won a lot of games at Oregon, and he was the Rose Bowl MVP. Now, in my opinion, there's a very good chance Justin Herbert may be their number 1 quarterback. I mean, here's a 4-year starter. Out of all the quarterbacks in the draft, Justin Herbert, in my opinion, has the lowest floor of any one of these guys. This is a 4-year starter. You don't have the injury concerns like you have with Tua. You don't have to worry about, is he a 1-year wonder like Burrow possibly could be. This is the guy who's been consistently good. I thought he was a top 10 pick last year, but he decided to surprise a lot of people, went back to school. I think he'll go number 4, and I think he'll go to the Los Angeles Chargers. And by the way, here's the thing with the thing with the Giants. I think you want to get an offensive tackle, right? Going from 4 to 6, the Lions aren't going to take an offensive tackle, so you still get your guy. The Chargers are going to get their guy. So listen, tomorrow I'm going to reveal what the Detroit Lions do with the 5th pick overall in the Andrews Football mock draft. I'll see you tomorrow.